मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, a fatal fire deemed arson. No new COVID-19 cases. And PM extends Ramadan greetings.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Smith.
The house fire that claimed the lives of 4 elderly women in Benau Lambasa yesterday has been classified as arson. This is the initial finding of the National Fire Authority and Energy Fiji Limited, which inspected the scene. The finding has been submitted to the police investigating team. The Manager Forensics and Science Services Superintendent of Police, Margaret Marshall, is in the Northern Division. She will work with the Divisional Crime Officer and team of investigators in determining the circumstances surrounding the tragic incident. Investigation continues. Another COVID-19 patient has recovered, meaning there are now only 6 active cases in Fiji. Prime Minister Vorengen Bainimarama confirms after 190 tests for the novel coronavirus this week, they've recorded 0 new positive cases. Fiji's last COVID-19 case was recorded 14 days ago in Ba. Most of the recovered patients have been discharged from hospital to spend 14 days in self-isolation at home.
This progress aside, we cannot afford to treat this virus lightly. Gatherings over 20 are still banned. The nationwide curfew remains in effect from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Gyms, nightclubs, swimming pools and cinemas remain closed. Physical distancing should be practiced as much as possible. Every Fijian should continue to act as if the virus is still out there, because it is.
With persistent rain over the last few days, Fijians are being advised to be wary of waterborne diseases. Venina Rakautonga reports that authorities are urging people to stay away from rivers and streams and to boil all drinking water.
This is the type of behavior that people should refrain from in order to prevent any disease outbreaks.
There's cases of leptospirosis going around now. When people walk in all of this water with animals, discharge and all that, we've noticed that dengue cases are going up, leptospirosis is going up, all of these things. I think people need to take heed of the advisories that are given out, in particular by NDMO and the Ministry of Health.
Usamate adds that it's everyone's responsibility to avoid any tragedies during the adverse weather. Negligence of these advisories in the past have resulted in unnecessary loss of lives.
There's a lot of rain. Advisory from the Met is that our soil are very saturated with rain, so it's going to be very easy for this rain to, for flash flooding to take place. And I think it's very important for everybody in the country take heed of the advisories. If NDMO or the Fiji Met is advising us about flash flooding, please take heed of that advice. Make sure we do the right thing. We don't want to lose anybody.
People living in flood-prone areas are advised that localized heavy falls may lead to flash flooding of low-lying areas in the Central and Eastern Division. Venina Rakautonga, FBC News.
Tenants and landlords have been urged not to exploit the COVID-19 situation. This follows complaints to the Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission that some tenants are not paying rent. Koroi Tandalala reports there are also complaints against landlords evicting tenants affected by the pandemic.
The Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission says they are ready to mediate between tenants and landlords who are facing rent payment issues.
I'd like to make it very clear that for evictions, you need to have a High Court order to evict somebody out. You still need to follow the process of giving them notice as well as going through the courts and using proper systems for eviction.
Yeah, we have also received complaints, whereby actually tenants have been given 30 days eviction notice because they are not able to meet the rental payments.
Chief Executive Joel Abraham says they're also having to deal with complaints of some tenants not paying rent, using the pandemic as an excuse, even though they haven't been financially affected.
Certain landlords have come to us and said, look, I want to give this to my tenant, but my tenant has said, look, I won't pay, but the tenant is still working. There was one case where the husband is still working, the wife's hours was reduced from 38 to 32, and they said, oh, we can't pay our rent anymore. So once we went in, looked at the income, and we said, but you're earning on the higher end of the market, why can't you pay?
The FCCC is reiterating the need for tenants to obtain an agreement that stipulates certain arrangements that can be implemented in times of crisis such as these. Corey Tandulala, FBC News.
40 individuals were arrested in the last 24 hours for engaging in sports-related activities amid the COVID-19 restrictions. 39 arrests were made in Lami, while 1 in Samambula. Of those arrested, 22 are juveniles who were playing touch rugby at the Nukuatu foreshore in Lami. In another case, a 20-year-old was arrested for playing touch rugby along Headstrom Road in Samambula with a group of people, while others ran away from the area. The police commissioner is urging parents and guardians to monitor their children's whereabouts, as they will not hesitate to arrest anyone who is found failing to comply with health orders. Another 2 juveniles were arrested in the Southern Division for curfew breaches. A total of 57 arrests were made in the last 24 hours. The trough of low pressure, which was in force for the Fiji group, has now cleared. The Nandi Weather Office says the system is now lying far to the northeast of Fiji, moving towards Samoa. The heavy rain warning and a flood warning has also been cancelled. Director Misaele Funaki says strong wind warnings for Fiji waters remain, but it is expected to gradually ease from tomorrow morning.
Even though the trough has moved away, we ask the members of the public to exercise caution, especially for those who know that they are still living in places where the waters are probably relatively higher than normal, but be aware that it will continue to recede.
Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama has expressed his gratitude to the Muslim members of our Fijian family who are at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19. In his message on the holy month of Ramadan, Bainimarama says they rank among our healthcare heroes serving in hospitals, fever clinics and mobile medical teams. The Prime Minister highlighted their efforts alongside their colleagues helping win Fiji's war against the coronavirus. Bainimarama says this year's holy month is certainly different. The Prime Minister highlighted that even while mosques and other houses of worship may be closed for the time being, Fijians can still draw incredible strength from the message of love, discipline and sacrifice honoured by the Ramadan tradition. Up ahead, supply issues delay roadworks and internet use at all-time highs. Stay with us.
Pula nadang ko approach lang karse, go erkraki, do televizyon na barong na Radio Fiji 1, nandom ibit.
Radio Fiji 1, nandom.
The Fiji Roads Authority has not been spared by the impacts of the deadly coronavirus as their supply chains have been disrupted. The FRA anticipates this disruption might have a negative impact on current and future projects. Kritika Kumar reports.
The FRA was expecting delays to roadworks from April, but the extent of it is unclear at this stage.
Yeah, there's been a few delays on deliveries, particularly overseas deliveries, mainly steel, beams and plates and bridge parts.
The COVID-19 crisis has had an even worse impact on the overseas markets, which is having a trickle-down effect on our economy and supply chains.
We have to understand that some of our materials come from Australia, New Zealand, the US, all being very severely affected by this virus right now. And I think there's a general slowdown in everybody's shipping.
The authority had started taking preventative measures a few months ago.
Well, I think there will be a knock-on effect to some of the jobs, to the start times. We can't avoid that. But our major issue right now is, even though we had a reduced allocation, we still need to maintain the network in a safe way. We're managing to do that right now, and we'll continue to do that until the next budget.
The authority says there has been a general slowdown in capital projects due to movement restrictions. The FRA budget of $419.4 million has been slashed by about $70 million. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
46 families living in the Vunivangi lockdown area in Riketi have been assisted with essential food supplies. Eleanor Turangaivu reports the residents, most of whom are farmers, have been living off their farms since the lockdown started 3 weeks ago.
It's the third week of lockdown for these residents of Vunivangi settlement in Riketi, Madhuwata, and assistance in the form of food supplies have been pouring in from various businesses and organizations.
On behalf of the Prime Minister, I would like to thank you for giving what little you have during this crisis.
Yesterday, the Senganga Advisory Council donated bags of food supplies to the 46 families living in lockdown, a gesture much appreciated by the community.
We are in the lockdown, but still we have something from the government. At least we have our food. So thanks very much for the help.
Facilitating the handover, Assistant Minister for Rural and Maritime Development, Charlie Singarara, applauded the giving spirit in Fijians during this time.
Those we bless more, those who are giving, not receiving. So we ask our God, Almighty God, to bless you all, the hands that gives to thee.
One more week remains before the residents of Vunivangi come out of lockdown. Eleanor Turangaivu, FBC News.
2 men charged for allegedly trying to sneak contraband items into the men's remand centre complex appeared in the Suva Magistrates Court today. 47-year-old Tasir Usman and 30-year-old Ashnil Kumar Sharma are charged with 1 count each of unlawful entry of prohibited articles. Usman also faces 2 counts of unlawful possession of illicit drugs. It is alleged that on Thursday this week, they threw tobacco, cigarettes and phone chargers before fleeing in a vehicle. It is also alleged that on the day of the arrest, Usman also had 6.4 grams of marijuana and 0.213 grams methamphetamine in his possession. The 2 have been released on $1,000 bail with strict conditions. The matter has been adjourned to July 15th. As the world marks International Workers' Day, celebrations have been overshadowed by COVID-19 crisis, which has affected thousands in the labour market. For many, this is the most difficult time of their lives, having lost their jobs and being unable to earn for their families. Venina Rakautonga reports.
In times of crisis, workers around the world must be commended for the work they have put in.
We commend the determination and hard work of all workers around the globe. And we also reflect on significant contribution the workers make towards prosperity and economic development.
Director for International Labour Organization Martin Karimli says in times like this, the government and employers should work hand in hand to protect their workers.
It should be a comprehensive process involving governments, workers and employers. If I need to mention some very important actions, support the business and the jobs need to target most vulnerable.
FBC News caught up with a few workers on what International Workers' Day meant to them.
Like we're going through the crisis, but still we are coping with it. And as I'm working in a company and it's also going down, but we are managing to do all things.
Today is a day we do every day, our hard work we do every day. To celebrate the contribution of the workforce and the population as a whole.
Around 25,000 Fijians have lost their jobs due to the current crisis, with majority from the tourism sector. Venina Rakautonga, FBC News.
Internet service providers are being encouraged to be ready for an increase in data usage on a long-term basis given current trends. Communications Minister Ayaz Said Qayyum says data usage during the COVID-19 crisis has been at an all-time high, and this could very well be the new benchmark going forward. Apanisa Wangarandovu reports.
The increase in internet data traffic is a reflection of how people access more streaming content such as Netflix and YouTube, as well as other social media.
Parents are downloading material at night to print off for the school, for the children. A lot more people using data to keep in touch with each other. So, there may be certain times of the day where, downloads are very slow.
Due to restrictions in movement, people working from home and a general inability of people to be out and about, many have turned to the internet to stay in touch. Said Kiyum says internet service providers must be ready to come up with innovative ideas to meet data demand.
It's something that may be the new norm. Even after we get over this, people may actually use more of the digital platform. So how well are we placed? So we're talking to the IT companies, the telecommunications companies to build more capacity because a lot more people will be using data.
At least one such company has confirmed that people are spending more time online than even before. Digital Fiji says traffic has risen by 40%, with indications that it may go even higher.
The peak traffic we see during the day is from the main CBD areas where workers are coming into the office, etc. But the dynamics have changed. We are seeing increase in traffic from more residential areas.
Mohammed says they are consistently monitoring network quality during this period to avoid connectivity issues.
And we are definitely keeping a close eye on the network performance to make sure that we continue to optimize and give our customers the best service.
Vodafone Fiji has also recorded a major surge in network traffic, saying they are consistently monitoring performance to ensure its users have consistent, reliable connectivity. Apiniso Wangarandovu, FBC News.
As work continues around the world to find a vaccine, there has been a huge breakthrough in the hunt for the next best thing, a treatment. The White House's top medical advisor says an international drug trial had a clear effect on the recovery time of the patients. And Whitney joins us now with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. In business tonight, 20 traders charged. And Swedish economy keeps running amid COVID-19. Stay with us.
My name is Neha and I'm from Kadavi, and Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Twenty traders have been charged by the Fijian Competition and Consumer Commission for various breaches for the FCCC Act 2010. These traders were found selling regulated items at an increased price, failing to display prices as well as failure to issue receipts. 10 traders are based in the Central Eastern Division, 7 in the West, and 3 are from the Northern Division. FCCC Chief Executive Joel Abraham says in light of the increasing complaints, the FCCC has set up a special response team to deal with cases swiftly and strictly. Abraham highlighted they are also monitoring supermarkets around the clock, not just for breaches, but to ensure that there is ample stock of essential items. Over the past 2 weeks, the FCCC team has conducted over 950 inspections. 62 cases were filed for enforcement. As countries begin to consider how to lift lockdown restrictions, many will be looking at a few countries that never imposed them. Sweden, their bars, shops and restaurants have remained open throughout, but there is debate about how successful their strategy has been. And now to the money market with Shoran from HFC Bank.
Traders rushed to buy euros in a bid to rebalance their portfolios on the last day of the month. This prompted a sudden spike in the currency, jumping to a 2-week high against the US dollar. The common currency had earlier weakened after the European Central Bank left interest rates unchanged and said it was ready to do whatever was needed to support the region's economy. The ECB President Christine Lagarde projected that the euro area economy could shrink 12% this year. Overnight, data release showed US initial jobless claims rose by 3.8 million last week. This was slightly worse than what the market has expected, and so the US dollar index inched a little higher. Meanwhile, in Japan, consumer prices in capital city fell for the first time in 3 years in April. The national factory activity also slumped, increasing concerns that the pandemic could tip the country back into deflation. And that's all from HFC Bank for this week. Vinaka.
Turning to today's exchange rates as set this morning, the Fijian dollar fell against a number of currencies including the Chinese yuan, US dollar, the New Zealand dollar, the PNG kina and the euro. There were slightly gains against the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen. Onto the commodities market, crude oil made strong gains, closing at $19.53 per barrel. Gold fell to $1,688 per ounce, while silver fell to $14.98 per ounce. That's it from Business Tonight. It's back to Jackie with the latest in sports.
In sports tonight, Levi Ikanikwamba staying with Fiji Sevens. And Kaviti Silktail's rep urging players to keep training. This and more coming up.
Bula, I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Fiji Airways National Men's Sevens rep Levi Ikanikonda has made it clear that he has no plans of joining any overseas club in the future. Ikanikonda thought his career was over 8 years ago after sustaining a major injury and was away from the international rugby circuit. Karatavi reports.
Now back to make amends, the 30-year-old wants to make his Olympic dream a reality.
After I was injured in 2012, that did not deter my goals and dream of one day representing Fiji in the Olympics. It has and always been my dream to don the white jersey. Until now, even amid the COVID-19, my plan has not changed.
Ikanikonda says he is happy with where he's at right now and has no plans of going abroad.
I am focusing on sevens and also my career as a police officer. I am happy with where I am in terms of my career and also representing Fiji in sevens rugby.
Fiji Airways National Men's Sevens head coach Gareth Baber is confident that local players like Ikanikonda can deliver the much-needed win in the HSBC 7 series.
But ultimately, my focus, as I said previously, will be very much on the boys that we have access to here and are with us daily, because ultimately that's where you can make the most change. You know, we've done it time and time again here over the last 4 or 5 years.
The national coach is in talks with overseas-based players who have shown interest in joining the Olympic squad. Karlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Kaviti Silktail's fullback Ratitimothina Motukula is urging players to remain focused on their goals. The 24-year-old Tavakumbu lad says the pandemic should not be an excuse for players to slacken off in their training. The Nippy fullback says players will need to adapt to the new normal.
Pandemic is not an excuse to us, but we all know that and believe that in time things will be getting back to normal. So we'll just have to stay fit and stay focused on what's ahead of us.
The New Zealand Rugby Union has posted a $7 million loss for the last financial year, but the worst is yet to come. The union held its first ever virtual AGM yesterday, revealing details of the cold hard financial facts, with more cuts likely as 70% revenue dries up. There is more trouble in the NRL's attempts to restart rugby league. The players threatened to delay a return to training, with officials forced into crisis meeting. Coming up in new media, could blue light from smartphones and laptops be damaging your skin? Details after the break.
I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
And our favourite weather lady Angie joins us now with all the latest.
Hello there and welcome to a beautiful Friday. After rain lashed out for almost a week, it's back to sunshine. Let's just say it is the best thing that has happened to us this week, not forgetting it's the weekend. Now, will you stack your umbrellas back on the shelf or not? That's a good question I will answer in just a bit. Moving on, checking out the other centers. In the west, it was back to its usual weather, full of sunshine and blue skies. The temperatures here rose by 2 degrees. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, it welcomed great sunshine on board, dried up everything. The winds were just in favour. I feel like writing a book already. And up north, more great conditions. It looks like all the showers will come to an end. At sea, the seas are calm, gusting from 10 to 15 knots, moderate seas. Turning to the tides, high tide at 1:38 a.m. with low tide at 7:37 a.m. Sunrise at 6:20. For tomorrow, light showers on the chart, but there will be more sunshine than showers. What a great bonus for a weekend. Tomorrow's temps, Lambasa will have lots of humidity. And looking further on to Saturday, here's the good news. You barely need an umbrella, my friends. The weather looks clear and the one you could enjoy. That's all the great weather news from my end. Jackie here is thrilled and is all smiles. Maybe she wants to tell us her weekend plans.
Not really. Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fijian Pulse tonight, we ask, what do you think of people playing sports during the COVID-19 lockdown?
Sure, there's a good reason why the government said no to those sports. I know it's a physical activities and something a leisure activity, but then at this time it's no from the government, so we need to respect that.
I think they should be given a second chance or a warning letter, that's all.
If government don't allow, then you don't play.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, fatal Lambasa accident deemed arson, tenants and landlords warned. And PM extends Ramadan greetings. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question this week we're asking, is the timing right to relax the curfew hours and resumption of domestic sea and air travel? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, a rare double rainbow amidst all the rain. This gorgeous photo was sent in by Vani Vurewa from Efesimba. And be sure to show us what you've been up to during the lockdown and movement restrictions. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj. Share it with us via Facebook page FBC News and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. From the team and I, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Until tomorrow, Modamanda.
I'm Miri, I'm from Lotoka and I love Gold FM because they play all my classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.